video by Lang Dental Manufacturing, the industry leader in acrylics, shows you how to create a duplicate denture right in your office, quickly and easily. Required materials are a rubber mixing bowl, broad blade spatula, narrow cement blade, and plastic mixing cups, along with alginate, the Denture Duplicator flask, jet temporary crown and bridge acrylic, glass dropper, jet denture repair acrylic, and aerosol silicone release spray. It is also helpful to have the AquaPress pressure curing unit, burrs and discs for trimming the acrylic denture and jet seal. To begin, spray the inside of the flask with silicone spray to facilitate the removal of the impression material later. Mix 6 scoops of alginate with a proportional amount of water, following the manufacturer's recommendations. Fill the lower half of the Denture Duplicator flask with the alginate impression material, filling the entire half of the flask. Place the denture to be duplicated into the impression material on a slight angle, with the anterior teeth at 90 degrees to the bottom of the flask. With wet fingers, smooth the impression material from the borders of the denture to the rim of the flask. Close the flask securely. Tighten the thumb screw, trim the excess impression material, and let it set. Open the flask and trim the excess material around the borders of the denture. Close the flask slowly to ensure that it will close completely. Open the flask and spray the upper and bottom halves. Mix a second batch of alginate and carefully place part of the impression material into the base of the denture, then into the upper half of the flask, working quickly so the impression material does not set too soon. With wet fingers, smooth the alginate to ensure complete coverage. Close the flask with steady pressure to squeeze out excess alginate. Tighten the screw and allow it to set. Trim any excess alginate. Open the flask and remove the denture. If there are any gross defects of the impression, make the corrections now or retake the impression. Select the proper shade of jet tooth acrylic and place the flask so that the lower part of the flask is on a 45-degree angle. Beginning with jet liquid, moisten the surface of the teeth impression and then shake on jet powder. Alternate liquid and powder, the salt and pepper technique, until the teeth are filled to the gingival border. Allow the teeth to cure for about 8 minutes. Open the flask and carefully remove the teeth. With a burr, trim the teeth to get the proper anatomy. Apply liquid oil substitute on the surface of the teeth to keep the pink acrylic from sticking to the labial and buccal surface of the teeth. Place it back in the flask. Slowly mix the pink acrylic for 10 seconds so as not to introduce bubbles, and pour it first into the deep portions of the impression and then over the teeth. Close and lock the flask. Place it into the water-filled pot of the AquaPress. Turn the handle until the pressure gauge reaches 30 psi. Remove the pot from its frame and take out the flask. Open it and remove the duplicated denture. Remove all excess acrylic, polishing with a grinder and pumice. Finish with Lang Jet Seal, which seals any surface porosity and leaves a shiny finish. When instructions are carefully followed, the duplicate denture compares quite favorably to the aesthetics and fit of the original denture.